The Nintendo Switch 2 is finally here, and I, like many others, have been playing Mario Kart World day and night, racing and exploring every inch of this incredibly colorful world. It would be redundant to say what everybody else is stating about the game, so in this video I wish to do something a little bit different. I want to shine light on all previous games. As fans of this channel are aware, I adore the Mario Kart franchise, making something like 7 videos discussing and comparing many of the game's racetracks to real Formula 1 circuits. I love every game in the series, and thus I want to share one element that makes every game unique, special, and worth playing today. These are not exactly mini reviews of every game, since that would take forever, but rather a quick explanation of what every game brought to the core game mechanics we see in Mario Kart World and to the franchise as a whole. The one thing that makes every entry spectacular. You only get to see the world standing on the shoulders of giants after all. But first things first, roll the intro. The original Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo started it all, a game developed by only around 8 people. Do not be fooled by this small number, however, because amongst them we find Yoki Kotabe, Hideki Kono, and the father of gaming itself, Shigeru Miyamoto. This title's fun fact is of course the one that started the whole franchise, no big surprise there, but not many have actually played it in this decade. Having played it recently with my good friend Tito, I realized that the game's uniqueness is its difficulty and learning curve. While most recent Mario Kart games can be fairly easy experiences, the OG was actually quite challenging, not leaving room for the player's mistakes. At times this difficulty was artificially inflated, but still, I would claim this is the title that introduced some sort of competitive element to what is essentially a racing party franchise. In Super Mario Kart, the players cannot settle for second place, they must stay on high alert all the times and perfect their racecrafts across their various similar looking tracks. Speaking of track selection, Mario Kart 64 is up next, and it transformed the twin environments into 3-dimensional polygons. Perhaps not always well aged, but still technologically revolutionary for the time. Every track is now visually distinct, no longer recycling themes with 4 other tracks like it was in the previous entry. But the aspect that makes this second game truly unique is its 4-people multiplayer mode, to this day the fulcrum of couch gaming. It is clearly not the sole game that has this feature, but ironically enough, is the one that feels the best to play this way, due to the limited number of NPCs and the small scale of it all. This title introduced and consolidated the idea that Mario Kart is a game to be played together, with people of all different levels of experience. After all, the controls of the games are few, the items are available fewer, hence the learning curve is not as steep as it can be with modern titles. 64 taught us a very valuable lesson. Do not trust your friends on the racetrack, since everybody is aiming at that sweet victory, regardless of the means to reach it, blue shells included. Mario Kart Super Circuit is the third entry in the series, and, I must confess, the one I least enjoyed playing. Despite being my lowest rated, I still believe the Game Boy Advance game to be solid and fun to play, not to mention well made in general. In my opinion, this title, as the name suggests, really started to put emphasis on the uniqueness of every circuit from an aesthetic point of view. Every track in the game aimed at being at least visually unique, with some very creative choices like a cheese desert seen in Cheeseland and a world made of gifts seen in River Road. The layouts themselves had to take a step back due to the console's limitations, yet the artistic choice of making every Grand Prix distinct in character and presentation truly hides the technical limit the console faced. No longer we have generic Mario-themed levels, but original tracks made specifically for the Mario Kart universe. Personality is something most racing games do not have, since they aim at realism and simulating reality. Mario Kart for the Game Boy Advance reminds us what makes this racing series unique, beloved to this day. Jumping to everyone's favorite cube-shaped console, Mario Kart Double Dash is the GameCube's entry, 4th in the series. For this title it was quite easy to spot what makes it unique for the rest, the double racing. Not only are the cars finally more distinctive than in the past, but they accommodate 2 drivers, one on the wheel and the other one holding items in the back. This entailed that the cast of selectable protagonists grew exponentially and, combined with unique items per character, gave a sense of personality to the game, arguably the biggest of any Mario Kart title. Functionally speaking, having 2 players per car doesn't have too big of an impact on the core gameplay, yet it does make Double Dash stand out, a Mario Kart experience not replicable anywhere else. This game consolidated the core concept that not all Mario Kart games have to follow a protocol, follow a strict pattern, but rather should aim at standing out, to give you a reason to play them even after launch. Double Dash, like all games on this list, did not become obsolete, but rather preserved a unique gaming experience, one that is both standalone as well as a building block for the future entries. Mario Kart DS was my first ever Mario Kart game, and thus, as you may imagine, it holds quite a special place in my heart. Everybody had a DS back in the day, and every DS had a copy of Mario Kart, a game that simply worked for all people, newcomers and veterans alike. This title needs to be praised for groundbreaking innovations, from introducing the concept of retro tracks to online play, but the unique aspect that I want to address today for Mario Kart DS is its mission mode. Before being reintroduced to Mario Kart World, DS had a full-on mode dedicated to small challenges to even boss fights, something that truly changed the way Mario Kart games could have been played. There was always battle mode, sure, but never something like this. This new way to experience Mario Kart realizes the potentialities the series had, no longer only focused on core races, but on the dynamic gameplay transposed in a different environment, something that World is showcasing to its maximum expression. Mario Kart Wii follows suit with its iconic motion controls, even featured on the cover box of the game. Naturally, the aspect I should bring to the table is the Wii wheel, and yes, that is what I will address, but in a broader content of how it affected the game design for this entry. Moving the Wii remote around is the most intuitive way to play for non-gamers, at the time many owners of the Nintendo Wii, and this meant making some tweaks to how the game actually plays. Mario Kart Wii introduced more flexibility in its movements, a finesse and a choreography to the way the players race across 3 laps. No wonder the game is full of unbelievable game-breaking shortcuts that to this day keep busy speedrunners all across the world. The previous 5 entries were in comparison more grounded, while Wii, thanks in part to the new control scheme, feels more expressive and chaotic, what people imagine Mario Kart to be. There is expression and charisma when jumping off a half-pipe, when doing a wheelie, when performing stunts one after the other, when racing around the clock. The addition of 12 players also increased the chaos, the beauty, that is playing Mario Kart Wii. Once again, we alternate between a home console to a portable one. Thus, for the 7th entry, we have to pick our Nintendo 3DS and play the currently named Mario Kart 7. Despite the 3-dimensional functionalities of the console, I wouldn't claim the double screen to be the game's memorable feature. Instead, I would argue the underwater and in-flight mechanics made a greater impact upon the franchise. This revolution in level design allowed an enormous variety in reinterpreting what a racetrack looks like, what was before an obstacle could now become a potential perk. It raised the imagination limit for developers, and the wonderful tracks and games showcase what these different ways of driving offer. This implementation broke 2 artificial barriers, the sky and the sea. This was a key crucial step forward for the making of Mario Kart World, but even taking the game for what it is, the game makes evident usage of this new step forward, with tracks that their sole purpose is to showcase what these mechanics have to offer and how they improve the gaming experience. And at last, we have Mario Kart 8, an almost perpetual game that was released twice, both for the Wii U as well for the Nintendo Switch. It surprised everybody how long this game with its DLCs remained active, but here we are. The game's main gimmick is of course the anti-gravity functionality, that has a similar effect to the previously discussed flying and swimming, but it is not this element that I wish to focus upon when thinking back at Mario Kart 8, but rather the refinement this game brought to the franchise. This was the first HD Mario Kart since the previous console did not support it, but rather than to make an upscale Mario Kart Wii, Nintendo went the extra mile to make this game as polished as possible, as beautiful as possible. This game was released in 2014, and it still looks fantastic to this day. There is a care for detail and technical performance that is truly unmatched. All Mario Kart games look nice, don't get me wrong, but always a slight downgrade from their mainline titles, since they were considered spin-offs. Instead, Mario Kart 8 was the point of reference for all Wii U and Switch games, a point hardly ever reached before the new Nintendo Switch 2. But of course, all things have to come to an end, and Mario Kart 8 is no longer the latest Mario Kart title, that honor going to Mario Kart World. But as they say, the rest is history. So there you have them, a unique and special aspect of every mainline Mario Kart game released before World. If you write me in the comments, yes, I am aware that Mario Kart Tour, the arcades and the toy exist, but I see those as spin-offs, experiences that specifically aim at very different audiences and thus very different core concepts. Still, I hope you like this retrospective of the past 8 Mario Kart games, a series that is very dear to me and to many others. Mario Kart World merges and transforms many of these core concepts into a singular game, with itself a unique perk never seen before. I do wonder how MK World will be remembered after its sequel releases in the far future. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you one-to-many Mario Kart stands for watching today's video. I'm having a blast playing Mario Kart World, and I'm still thinking about discussing it more in depth in a future video. For the time being, I'm quite happy to have brought some light to the previous games of the franchise, titles you should all give a shot. I wish you all a wonderful day, and until next time, arrivederci!